Picture yourself on the deck of a Byzantine warship over 13 centuries ago. The enemy fleet is closing in, and there are far more of them than there are of you. Running isn't an option. Then, out of nowhere, a stream of fire erupts from your ship's bow, not arrows, not the burning oil you'd expect. This fire keeps burning as it races across the open water toward the enemy line. Panic breaks out among their ranks. One ship catches, then another, then another. In a matter of minutes, the whole battle has turned. For centuries, that weapon kept the Byzantine Empire standing. Its formula became one of the most fiercely guarded secrets in military history. And even today, more than 1,300 years later, nobody can say for certain exactly how it worked. This is Greek fire. And honestly, the story of how it disappeared might be even stranger than the weapon itself. I'm Scout. Welcome back to Forgotten Engineering. Today we're pulling apart one of history's greatest lost engineering secrets, where it came from, how it actually worked, and why an empire that couldn't keep almost anything else secret managed to bury this one for good. To understand why Greek fire mattered, you have to understand what Byzantium was up against. By the 7th century, the empire was fighting for survival. Arab armies had already torn across the Middle East and North Africa faster than anyone had expected, absorbing territory that had taken Rome centuries to conquer in the span of a couple of decades. Constantinople was next in line. This wasn't just some city on a map. It was the richest trading hub in the known world at the time, sitting right at the point where Europe and Asia meet, controlling trade routes that half the ancient world depended on. Lose that city, and you lose more than land. You lose the thing keeping the empire funded, connected, and relevant. The land walls had held for generations, triple layers of stone, towers every few dozen meters, a moat running in front of all of it. By the standards of the era, they were close to unbreakable. The sea was a different problem entirely, and that's where the empire stayed exposed. A determined enemy fleet could sail right up to the city and land troops, or just blockade it and starve it out. In the 670s, that's roughly what the Arab Navy tried, launching what turned into a years-long siege of the city by sea. According to the historical record, an engineer named Callinicus fled Syria during the Arab conquests and turned up in Constantinople carrying something that would reshape naval warfare for good: Greek fire. We don't know much about Callinicus himself. No detailed biography survives, no portrait, barely more than his name and where he came from. What we do know is that his timing worked out about as well as timing can. The empire needed a miracle, and he happened to be carrying one. Ask most people what Greek fire actually was, and you'll usually get some version of a mysterious liquid sealed in a jar. That's not really the whole picture. Greek fire wasn't just a weapon. It was a complete engineering system, and the burning liquid was only one piece of it. Byzantine engineers had to work out bronze siphons, pressure mechanisms, ignition systems, metallurgy, naval design, and crews trained well enough to run the entire thing in the middle of a battle without setting fire to their own ship. Think about what that actually required. The liquid had to be stored without degrading or igniting on its own. It had to be heated to a precise temperature before use. Some kind of pump or bellows system had to build enough pressure to force it out through a nozzle in a controlled stream, not just a splash. The stream had to catch fire exactly as it left the tube, which meant solving a timing problem that modern flamethrower designers still take seriously. All of that had to happen on a rolling wooden deck, in the middle of combat, run by people who couldn't afford a single mistake. Some historical accounts describe the siphon nozzles shaped like the heads of dragons or lions, mouths open, flame pouring out from between bronze teeth. Whether that detail is literal or exaggerated by later writers, it says something about how this weapon was meant to be experienced. Burning ships was only part of the job. Looking like something from another world was the rest of it. So what was actually inside it? Even now, nobody can say for sure. Most historians think petroleum or naphtha formed the base, mixed with natural resins and sulfur, maybe with a few other additives thrown in to make it more effective. Quicklime shows up in some theories, though it's one of the more disputed additions. Despite centuries of digging, no surviving Byzantine document lays out the full recipe. What's genuinely strange isn't that modern science hasn't managed to reverse engineer it. It's that an empire kept one of history's biggest military secrets locked down for that long. With none of the tools, we'd assume you'd need to pull that off. No patents, no classified filing systems, no non-disclosure agreements, just tight control over who was allowed to know, generation after generation. Byzantine sources suggest production stayed within a small circle, possibly centered on the imperial court itself, with the formula treated as something close to a state relic. Emperors reportedly warned their successors never to reveal it to foreign powers, not even allied ones. A clever hiding spot doesn't get you that kind of secrecy. An entire institutional culture built around keeping a handful of people quiet, century after century. There's also the famous claim that it could burn on water. On the surface, it sounds like myth. It probably wasn't. If the base really was petroleum, the mixture would have floated rather than mixed into the sea, which means the fire could ride the current straight at a target instead of burning out on contact with the waves. In some accounts, the fire actually spread further once it hit the water, carried outward instead of extinguished. Picture standing on a wooden warship around the year 700, watching that come at you with nowhere to go, the sea itself apparently working against you. What started as a naval weapon had turned into something closer to a nightmare, and Byzantine commanders knew it. The delivery wasn't limited to the big bronze siphons on the warships either. Historical sources also mention smaller, handheld versions used in close combat, along with ceramic pots filled with incendiary material that could be thrown onto enemy decks like an early grenade. Long-range siphons, close-range handhelds, throwable containers, that combination gave Byzantine commanders options most navies of the era simply didn't have. Soften a fleet from a distance, finish it up close, or improvise depending on how the fight actually unfolded. That flexibility mattered most during the two great sieges of Constantinople, in 674 and again in 717. Arab fleets tried to force their way into the Bosphorus, and Byzantine ships met them with streams of fire that tore through wooden hulls and broke apart entire formations before they could even land. Several historical accounts credit Greek fire as one of the decisive factors in both sieges. It wasn't the only reason the city held. The walls, the leadership, the geography, and reliable supply lines all mattered too. But Greek fire multiplied the effect of everything else the empire had going for it. For generations afterward, rival fleets thought twice before challenging Byzantine ships directly, which on its own was worth more than any single battle. A quick reality check, since the internet loves to run wild with this stuff. Scientists supposedly recreated the original formula. They haven't. Researchers have made mixtures that behave somewhat similarly, but nothing confidently identified as the real thing. We supposedly know exactly what was in it. We don't. There are solid, well-argued theories, but no confirmed recipe. And probably the biggest misconception going around is that Greek fire was simply a secret formula, something you could scribble on a piece of paper and hand off. Even with the exact ingredients in hand, you'd still need Byzantine metallurgy, pressure engineering, ignition systems, naval architecture, logistics, and crews who actually knew what they were doing. Chemistry was only ever half the story here. Nobody can point to the exact moment Greek fire vanished, either. As the empire weakened, the specialized workshops likely shut down one by one. The master craftsmen who understood the process died without training enough replacements. The knowledge simply stopped getting passed on. Military priorities shifted as the empire's borders shrank and its navy changed shape. Somewhere in that slow decline, one of history's most advanced weapons quietly went dark, and nobody wrote down the date, because nobody realized at the time that it was the last one. That might be the most unsettling part of the whole story. Unlike a book or a blueprint, this knowledge only ever existed inside living people. There was no backup copy sitting in an archive somewhere, waiting to be found. No duplicate set of plans. Once the chain of masters and apprentices broke, that was it. The technology never got rediscovered later, because there was nothing left to rediscover from. Civilizations don't always lose knowledge in some dramatic collapse. Sometimes it just fades, one retirement and one unfinished apprenticeship at a time, until the day comes when nobody left alive actually remembers how the thing worked. What Greek fire was made of is the question everyone asks, but it might not be the most useful one. A better one is how Byzantine engineers managed to build something this advanced 13 centuries ago in the first place. Chemistry, metallurgy, mechanical engineering, naval architecture, logistics, and military strategy. All fused into a single working system, not as separate lucky discoveries, but as one integrated design. Pulling that off once is impressive. Keeping it working and keeping it secret for hundreds of years is something else entirely. The exact formula might never come back. The full recipe may really be gone for good. What's left is a harder thing to sit with. An empire built an engineering system so far ahead of its time that, more than 1,000 years later, we're still trying to fully understand it, and then lost it anyway. If something this valuable, this closely guarded, this central to an empire's survival could slip through the cracks of history, it raises an uncomfortable question about everything else we assume we still know. I'm Scout, and this is Forgotten Engineering. If you're into the technologies, cities, and engineering feats that time nearly erased, go ahead and subscribe. The next discovery might change how you see history all over again. And let me know down in the comments, if you could bring back one lost technology from history, just one, what would it be? See you in the next one.